What's up, Squadron? Aviation has given me a ton of amazing experiences.
Good job there. Nice rock, high wing.
But more importantly, it's introduced me to a whole new family of friends.
Like, dude, you're killing it. You're having a great day.
So just never give up.
Airport, and then, oh, by the way, I got carb ice while I was flying through, so the engine started running rough. And I had to
Join us tonight as we're cleared direct for some hangar flying. I am Bryon Bowman, and this is SuperAero Live.
That's a lot. I mean, a lot of cookies.
What's up, Av Geeks? It's Wednesday, which can only mean one thing. It's time for another episode of SuperAero Live. Got some text messages from some Bush pilots saying they were anxious for the show to get started, and I had some stuff I had to get done before we got going. Just keep your pants on, keep your undies ungrouped. I don't know, I'm making bad jokes tonight. Anyway, gotta say hi to some of you in the chat. Brian Gaines is here. Ryan Krueger is here. James Hyatt, Zach Sherman. By the way, Ryan, thanks for buying those Girl Scout cookies for my daughter. It was so great to see you the other night. 782 Papa is here. Gary Smith. Sarah Clucky's here. Clucky, how you doing? I saw you're working on your training on the social medias. Good job. Keep it up. Scrolling. Waukesha Pilot, Canyon K, Zach Sherman, Freedom Fixer Flying. Ken Dodson's here. The gang is all here. I'm excited for tonight. Real quick, before we get started, make sure you check out last week's episode after this one. If you want to stay up even later, go back and watch last week's episode with BVR. Dylan was on from BVR, and that was really fun. We had it on kind of like an aviation group hug thing, and that was really, really good. And then next week, this week we're talking home-built performance aircraft. Next week we get another one. Stay tuned for that. It's going to be good. Another little home builder adventure. You guys are into that, right? Anyway, all right, scrolling. Brian Garrett, Marty's here. He says, oh, we're supposed to have your pants on. Technically, you can do whatever you want. It's a family show, so just keep it on that side of the camera. Okay, enough of me. I'm really excited about this guest tonight, all the way calling in from Hawaii, I think. It's Nat Esser.
Hey, yeah, you got it. I'm in Maui.
So I don't know. We were talking before the show. It's like, why are you wasting your time with us tonight when you could be out doing Maui things? But thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, no worries. I'm just on a layover for work, and I have to go take a nap before I fly a red-eye after this. So it was kind of perfect timing to keep me in my room instead of on the beach longer than I should, getting too much sun. So it's all good. I got out early this morning. So.
Okay, this is good. We're helping you be responsible. By the way, a mutual friend of ours, Colin Keneva's in the chat. He said, you got to drop it like it's hot, Nat. So it's Old Green Plane, of course, if you see in the chat, folks. Colin Keneva's shared the mic with me at National Stol. And we're going to talk about Stol drag in a minute. But we got to go. We got to go back. I want to go back to the beginning. I was joking with you just before we got started that I actually had heard of you, like, I don't know, how long ago did you guys start building your Kit Fox? Because, like you guys had there was, like, a Kit Fox forum, and there was, like, Esser's build, and I was, like, following the build, and there's, like, pictures. Is it creepy? It's a little creepy. Like, it's, like, pictures of you guys, like, putting the, like, empennage together and stuff, and I was like, I could do that someday. So, anyway.
You know what? I think one of the pictures I gave you is really early days of the build too, but I think it was like 2012, 2013 that we got the kit, and then it flew for the first time in 2018. So it was a long process. Almost,
because I think I literally saw it the day the first post popped up. So literally,
oh my God, yeah.
Just through randomness. And so then later, when we saw you guys doing what we're going to talk about later today, I was like, whoa, wait a minute. Blast from the past, interneting. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about, for people who don't know you, you are pilot extraordinaire.
I don't know about that. I've been doing the Stol drag thing. I started in 2019, and then obviously 2020. qualified for the Reno Air Races at High Sierra in 2019, and then Reno Air Races didn't happen in 2020, which is kind of actually sort of lucky for me because I wouldn't have been able to make the 2021 anyways, which was some work things, but ended up showing up and racing in Reno for 2021. And then I also raced at High Sierra this year as well in October. So I've done 3 Stol drag events now and did pretty well at the last 2 that I was at. So it's been a wild ride. I didn't expect to be, I don't know, on a show about it or anything. I just was doing it for fun, but yeah.
Well, so talk to me a little bit about how you got started in aviation, because you sent some photos over. Like there you are with looks like a 150 something, 150, 152.
Yeah, that was my first solo in a powered airplane. So I'd already had my glider pilot license previous to that. But yeah, that was 17-year-old Nat. Just finished her first solo. I look pretty proud of myself there, I guess. Yeah.
No,
the flight suit though is because I was in Air Cadets. So there's I don't know how familiar you are with Air Cadets in the States. In Canada, it's a program for youth aged 12 to 18, and you have the opportunity to get your glider pilot license and your private pilot license under a scholarship program, so it's all paid for. And so I got my glider pilot license at the age of 16, the summer of 2004, and that's actually where I met Josh, my now husband, and then my private pilot license the following summer. So yeah, that's how I learned how to fly in formation, I guess, there with climbing the tow plane. And then so that's it, just two seats in tandem in these little gliders, and that's how I got the hands and feet, and they were all about the forward slip in those gliders. So that's how I learned how to forward slip like I need to in Stol dragon. Wasn't made to be afraid of it like some people. So
yeah, I mean that's definitely one of the like more fantastic parts of the Stol drag thing, and I want to get into some technique stuff. I want some tips at the end. By the way, folks, if you as you're watching, like throw your you can't see it on my screen. I don't know where it is for you guys. On my screen, it's over here. Throw your questions in the chat. For Nat. I didn't mean to do that. And we'll make sure to ask along the way. I don't see anything yet. Everyone's just saying a lot of great stuff about like solo is a very proud day. Marty again is saying, am I too old to be a cadet? I want a free glider cert. I think probably Marty, you probably are too old to be a cadet.
Probably if you're over 18, yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, so you do the glider thing, the cadet thing, then you go into powered aircraft, you solo that. Then the next stuff I have is like pro pilot Nat, like getting it. So
I think I gave you one of me in school. I went there's one of me with a Bonanza that's in school, but I look like I'm wearing a uniform because they made us dress up like we were real pilots when I went to school. I went to Seneca College, which is in Toronto, and I think it's similar to your guys' Embry-Riddle. It's a 4-year degree program where you get an integrated ATPL. So essentially, when you leave there, you have all of your commercial multi-IFR, and then this integrated ATPL where you just have to get 1,500 hours within, I can't remember what it is now. Is it 4 years, 5 years, something like that? And then if you get all that time,
yes, it's whatever you said is right.
Okay.
I decided. Right,
somebody's gonna tell me that I had it wrong, but I can't remember now. But anyway, so you essentially have all of your ATPL exams written and everything, and you just have to go get hours after you finish. So finished school there. Then my first job was flying a Piper Meridian in the right seat for a charter company. And then I flew a PC-12 and a Cessna Conquest for the same company. And then that's the Metro. So that was a little later down the road.
Sorry,
but
I think these are all out of order. We're just basically doing a little.
Yeah, it's okay.
Sorry, but look at anyway, still doing cool stuff. But sorry, continue. So you're doing that. Your PC-12s. I interrupted.
Yeah, so flew PC-12s, flew the Cessna Conquest. That was my first captain gig, was on the Cessna Conquest. And then I flew Learjets for an air ambulance company for a little while. And then I went to fly the Metro. that was actually just a couple days ago. I was actually on the flight here. That was my first flight in the 787 yesterday.
Oh, rad.
Yeah. So, but yeah, and so went from the Metro to flying the Q400. Perfect timing. That's the WestJet Encore, and that was actually a buddy of mine from college, which was really fun. We ended up flying a pairing together. And then from Encore, Air Canada called, and then I've been there since 2017 now. So, and I flew the 320 when I started there, and then now I'm flying the 787.
So now that you just said that, I'm imagining there's going to be a bunch of Airbus versus Boeing questions.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
In the chat.
I can't say for sure yet, so it's I don't even want to say because everyone always asks, right? Because I was a big Airbus fan, and I like it so far. That's all I'll say. I really like the 87 so far. It's nice to fly an airplane that was designed in this century. You know, like it's like that's a first for me. So yeah.
So I'm just gonna click through. Yeah, I mean it's taken you everywhere.
Yeah, I've had a pretty crazy kind of weird transition of moves in my career it's been a really fun ride for sure. It's been gotten to fly a lot of different machines and see a lot of different places. Really like from the Arctic all the way up, middle of nowhere in Canada, and then the Learjet. We went all over the world with that. We were an international medevac company, so we do like the puddle jump so we go from somewhere in the States usually or somewhere in Canada to Goose Bay, over to Keflavik in Iceland, and then over to the UK usually, and drop the patient there. And then usually what would happen is the boss would say like, okay, wait and hang out. We'll find another patient to bring back, but we just need a few days to figure that out. So we just get to hang out wherever we were.
Well, that's pretty
Yeah.
cool. Gary has a question about the air ambulance stuff, which we could probably from what it sounds like, we could do like a month where you just come on every week and we like dive into a different part. But without taking us down too much of a diversion, this is a good question. Gary's wondering about get theiritis when you're flying air ambulance stuff. Was that an issue?
It could be. We obviously still had to operate under all the same, regulations. Even though we were medevac, we might be able to, we get priority, where we were going and stuff. But we still had to follow the same air regulations as everybody else. So there was a time, for example, where our alternates just weren't working to get over. We were supposed to be headed over to Japan actually. And so we had a crew stationed in Alaska, so we were going to fly the plane from Vancouver up to Alaska, and then we were going to switch out there and continue on over to Japan. And we just couldn't make it work. Like the weather was not, it wasn't working for our alternates because we still needed all the same alternates. Like we need to be able to have a rapid depressurization and an engine failure and still make it to an airport that was suitable with good weather, and it just wasn't happening through Russia. And so we couldn't do it. So, I mean, yeah, it's a tough one sometimes. The thing about the job that I was doing is it was patients that were going from ICU to ICU, so they weren't usually so critical. Like they weren't about to die, They had to be at least a certain stability level. So it wasn't so much that urgent care type air ambulance stuff. So
sure,
it didn't factor in as much. Yeah.
Versus like what we hear about with like the helicopter.
Yeah, like my buddy Bryon Bowman has some stories about stuff like that. That's like, yeah, I wouldn't want to. Yeah.
So okay, so we do. Let's see what else we got in here. We've got. Is that the one you were talking about at school?
Yeah, that was my
Seneca
so
College.
We
Yeah.
Flew. Yeah. Flew the Bonanza and the Baron and 172 there, and then they also had an RJ simulator there as well. So we actually got to do a bit of 2 crew stuff before we left school, which was really pretty awesome for where I'm at now. It was really a nice little intro. So Seneca was great. Oh yeah, and then that's the 321. It looks like, yeah.
Very, very cool.
Mhm.
And then you got married, it looks like.
Yeah, at some point in there, I got married. to Josh, who is the one who started the Esser build forum on the Kitfox build forum. And yeah, the Kitfox was actually all his idea, really. Like, he was the one that was gung-ho about doing it, and I just kind of jumped in and stole his thunder a little bit at a certain point. I don't know what happened. Yeah, and then this was WestJet Encore right before Air Canada. And then, yeah, there's... oh, sorry.
No,
that was
okay.
early days. Yeah, so that was after we had just... So we moved from Ontario to Edmonton, where we live now. And we had a U-Haul truck that we drove across the country. And we literally loaded the entire plane into the back of the truck, everything that we could fit, and then anything else we could fit in the truck came on, like, with us, and we left everything else behind. It was like airplane first. Yeah. So we left a lot of stuff back in Ontario.
So talk to me about, I mean, obviously you've got like two totally different sides.
Mm-hmm.
Not totally different. It sounds like they help one another a lot, but like you've got this professional pilot Nat, and then you've got like Stol drag, like racer Nat, and maybe we talk a little bit about the Kitfox there. Like, you guys built it together. You were telling us at the top of the show. It took a handful of years. What was the impetus in terms of starting the Kitfox? I mean, Stol drag I didn't even think existed when you started building it.
Yeah. I don't think so. I actually don't even know how far back it goes. You know, I've heard Kevin talking about it, and I can't remember exactly what. I know, like, I've seen on the cup, like the, you know, World Championship Stol Drag Cup that they put your name on if you win, how many years back it goes, and it's quite a few, but I don't know if it goes all the way back to when we first started building it. It certainly wasn't on our radar, because when we bought the kit, we were living in Ontario still, so we weren't really into the whole... We didn't really know about all the cool stuff going on in the High Sierras and stuff, because it's a lot closer to where we are now. But yeah, no, Josh was really, because we got our glider pilot licenses the same summer when we were 16, and then our private pilot licenses the following summer in 2005. And he and I had started dating, and I think we were engaged, or maybe not quite, but he really decided he was between buying a sailboat or an airplane, and he landed on an airplane. And then he started looking into, you know, like what he could get for what sort of money he could spend. And at the time, it made a lot of sense money-wise to build your own airplane, because you could have a brand new high-performing, you know, machine versus buying like maybe something a little bit older or less powerful kind of deal. So I think that was what went into his decision-making. But yeah, he went to Oshkosh one year. We went to Oshkosh together one year. And he went and chatted with every, you know, airplane that was sort of in the realm of what he kind of thought he wanted. He knew he wanted a tail dragger, kind of bush machine, and ended up talking to one of the gentlemen at Kitfox and sat in it, and, you know, got a really good feel for it. And I think it was on that trip that he decided that was the plane that he wanted. So he ordered a kit, and back then I don't think the lead times were quite what they are now. So the kit showed up. I'm not even gonna try and guess. But the kit showed up, and then he just started working away furiously on it. And then, you know, we got engaged and married and moved across the country and both changed jobs twice, all while still trying to build this thing. So that's part of the reason that it took maybe a little bit longer than he'd hoped it would. But yeah, flew for the first time in 2018.
And there's you guys looking epic AF. Is that High Sierra?
That was this year, yeah. Our buddy Tony took that on Go Home Day, and oh my goodness, it's like we always end up doing these photo shoots, like the photo that you used for the little picture that you sent to everybody with the link, the thumbnail. There we go. That photo and this photo were both taken on like Go Home Day at High Sierra, which is always like, you're dirty, you smell bad, you like, you know, it's just like you've been there for 3 days now, and, you know, haven't had a shower, and maybe stayed up a little bit too late, or whatever you want to, you know, imply about that. And then now you got to fly home, but first Tony's like, let's take some pictures. So anyway, it turned out to be a really cool photo. But it always makes me think of how exhausted and ridiculous it was that I was posing for a photo in that condition. But
and you can't take those photos when you get there. because it's like you haven't, nothing's happened yet. You got nothing to remember.
Exactly.
Spirit
Well,
will be
and
gone.
Josh was saying too, there were a few photos from the earlier in the event, and the plane still looks black, and he's just like, "Oh, that must have been the first day because you can't see
it's
any
too
dust
clean.
on that thing at all." Yeah, exactly.
Colin, old Green Plains got a couple comments here. First, he was talking about your air ambulance stuff. He said they weren't about to die, then gets on a plane with Nat, about dies. The other thing he says is they don't look epic AF, they are epic AF. Wow, you got a little like one man cheering section there tonight going hard.
Well, you know what, Colin? Some got it, some don't.
He wanted me to ask you about that too, actually. Well, maybe he says, ask Nat, of all those other Stoldrag pilots, how come so few have it?
How come so few have it? I don't know. I think Colin's just he's got this saying that some got it, some don't, and I really like it. But he thinks he's definitely got it too, and I would say that most of these people that show up and fly Stoldrags have got it. But
so
thanks for watching, dude.
Let's talk a little bit about there's the Kit Fox when it's not dirty.
That was the first flight. Yeah.
Oh, epic.
Yeah, so that was Josh with the Kit Fox after the first flight. You can tell we were eager to fly it, huh? Because that thing was like sliding sideways on that snow. That those tires don't really have a whole lot of grip. So, but it was a great first flight, and it flew amazingly from the first day we flew it. It was such a great airplane. I can't say enough good things about it.
Let's see what else. Where did this take us? Oh, there we go. Probably the same day, it looks like. I'm guessing.
I think so, yeah.
So cool. And then this is what you guys like normally use it for, right? Is just like adventuring, I'm guessing?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so this is just bombing around. That's the North Saskatchewan River Valley. So that's kind of our stomping grounds where we would bomb around. I think you can, if you look close enough, you see I'm not wearing shoes, that's my favorite way to fly.
Yeah, it's the best. And then then you're off into the desert.
Yeah. Maybe my thing froze. I can't maybe see what you see. Oh, there we go.
Oh.
Yeah, so that's our buddy Jer. There, okay. Yeah, that was 2019. The pink hat photos are all 2019. And we had the 914 on it still as well in that photo. So, yeah. Yeah, so that year was really cool. They put up a prize for the fastest female racer, the Flying Cowboys guys did. And so Josh had gone to High Sierra the year before in 2018. And so he went by himself. He didn't have the plane, but then he told me all about it. And when he came home, and I was like, man, I'm going to that next year for sure. And then the guys put up a cash prize for the fastest female racer, because up till that point, I don't know how many women had participated, but they wanted to get more women flying in the Stol drag. So I went and practiced a little bit before we left, and showed up and ended up being able to get. I think I qualified. They in the top 16 are the number of people that they moved forward to actually fly like the bracket races, and so I came in 16th. So
okay.
Yeah, it was awesome.
That is awesome. And maybe this is a good, as we start to talk about Stol drag more, you sent some videos, and I thought maybe I could play them for everybody, just so people can see what it's like, because it's funny. We actually had Kevin Quinn on the show, I don't know, a couple months ago, and he was talking about, right before Reno, he was talking about Stol drag, and then we didn't have any video of like what Stol drag was ready at the time, and so this this may be a cool way for people to, oh no. Oh, she got disconnected. Okay, so I'm going to roll those videos while I try to get her reconnected, and then we will reconvene in just a second. So first of all, check out, here's what it looks like from the outside.
Excellent. Looks like Nat Esser rolling out in lane 2. Let's see who is in lane 1. I believe that's going to be Warren G in the...
2, 1.
It is Warren G in the big polished aluminum Cessna 180, stock certified aircraft. Probably our second heaviest aircraft out here. And Nat Esser, Natalie, running a good lead in her aircraft, Hard Liquor, with a pumped up engine. Getting them stopped. Natalie gets it turned around first. Heading back to the start-finish line. Will this be the elimination of Warren G and the Cessna 180? 2 losses and you're out. And it's a long flight back to Naples, Florida. But we're going to keep these aircraft flying all weekend. As long as we got good winds, we're going to determine some winners to determine how we're going to split up all this loot. And then we're just going to keep flying for fun with all the time slots that we have here at the Stol National Championship Air Races.
Nat, by about a second and a half, clear to taxi, let's go.
So look who's back. Nat's back.
There we go.
She got reconnected on that hotel Wi-Fi. But so we were just talking a little bit.
Off, yeah.
It was like you got are you streaming to an aviation YouTube show right now from your room?
Not allowed. Not allowed. Yeah.
But I was just showing everyone that video of Reno. I'm gonna play it again a little bit because you had some great comments, but I got to turn our mics on. So 1 second. I'm gonna.
Excellent. Looks like Nat Esser rolling out in lane
Okay,
2.
so now people should be able to hear us. I'll turn that down. And you were kind of like just telling me a little bit about how the competition goes. So Kevin releases you guys, and you just race down to the other end.
Yeah, so it's like go fast for as long as you can, and then usually about halfway down the course, for this length of course, was a good time to pull the power, and then slow down as fast as you possibly can, with the goal being to be right at the right speed and height and spot to touch down right on past the line. If you touch down before, you're disqualified. So touch down, get stopped as quickly as you can. It's really critical to get a good stop, a nice short landing on the first landing, because any distance that you take up on the way down, you got to make up on the way back. So it's really good if you can maybe be slow a little bit early on the way down the course. For the first one. The second one is a little less critical as far as how long you land. You just have to stop in a short amount of time, which usually coincide with one another. But yeah, so and then this course is kind of crazy because the go home landing was usually with a tailwind and downhill, so it was a little bit of an optical thing that you had to get your mind around a little bit as well. But yeah, first plane to come to a complete stop with their tail down on heading within 10 degrees wind.
And we were just talking about I got to get Warren on this show. I've met Warren a number of times.
Yeah.
I'll be honest, like that matchup almost doesn't seem fair because you're so much lighter and like I apologize, but like you've got I think you were saying you're turboed like.
Yeah, so we have turbochargers, so that makes a big difference for us making power up at those high altitudes. Because I think Reno is 5,000 feet, and then whatever the heat adds to make your density altitude. Like I think some of the days it was like north of 8,000 feet. So you can imagine like a normally aspirated engine trying to take off at that high of altitude. Yeah. It's gonna make a big difference.
So a couple of questions that came in that people I think would love to get answers to. One was people were asking about the cowling being off on your aircraft there. You want to talk a little bit about what the strategy behind that is?
Sure. We're always adding weight in the tail, first of all. So on the both of the races, we had about 20 pounds back in the tail, just because you can actually get stopping a lot better with the weight in the back, because you can keep that tail down and you can be on the brakes harder. And therefore, any weight that you can take off in the front is helpful. We're a liquid-cooled engine, so we don't need the cowling for cooling purposes. And then the other thing that was happening, especially at Reno in the afternoons, is it was getting so hot, and then we would all taxi out in a big line, and then all I forget, I think there was like 25 of us or 26 of us, would sit there and we would slowly race one at a time. And while we were sitting there with the engine idling, our temps were just getting really high with the cowling on, and because there's no air moving through the cowling. So we found having the cowling off would help dissipate a lot of that heat, kept our temperatures a lot lower, plus it helped with the weight because we lost all of that weight from the cowling, giving us better braking. And so that was kind of our decision. We're, I think, the only people that really do it. But it was mostly just at Reno, especially, it was mostly just the fact that we were just getting too hot. We didn't have any other way to keep it cool.
And it looks pretty cool also.
I think it looks pretty awesome. Yeah.
What about, you were talking about how you learned to slip in your gliding days, and that was a helpful thing here. The slips in Stol drag are very dramatic looking. It's, I think, part of what makes it so exciting to watch. Can you talk a little bit for folks who maybe who aren't maybe pilots yet, maybe aviation enthusiasts, or haven't learned about slipping, like what in Stol drag, like what the purpose of that slip is?
Yeah, so it's like aerodynamic drag. So it's pretty much, if you want to slow down as fast as you possibly can, if you have the airplane flying straight through the air, you have all the air moving over it in a really nice, like it's just sort of going smoothly over the entire airplane. But as soon as you take that airplane, what we do is we kick the rudder over all the way, and now the airplane's flying through the air this way. So our wings are coming in and we're going this direction. So we're pointed, the nose this way, but we're moving through the air this direction. And so now all that air is hitting the side of the airplane, and that's adding a ton of drag. So it's slowing us down. So we're actually using the airplane and the physical side of the airplane itself to actually use it as a big speed brake, essentially, through the air. And so we can dissipate a lot of speed by doing that. And so it's kind of essential in Stol drag. To be able to be competitive, you have to be able to throw your airplane into a pretty aggressive forward slip. And, you watch guys like Steve Henry, they're doing it all the way to the line. They've got it timed so perfectly that they're not pulling it out of the slip until they're putting the wheels on the ground past the line. So that's another skill that you end up figuring out, how much you want to do it or how much you want to use it based on your comfort level. But yeah, so essentially as soon as you get to about that halfway point down the line, pull the power off, full forward slip. So now you're slowing the airplane down as fast as you possibly can so that you're bang on that speed to touch down just past that first line. That's a good explanation?
Yeah, that was a great explanation.
Okay.
So this is the next question, right? So like that, it's interesting. Like the crowd's gonna love this. I love slipping planes because I grew up in J3s. They're gonna joke because I find a reason to bring up J3 Cubs in every episode, and you just teed it up for me. And I mean, you have to slip there, right? Because it's a different phase of flight than what you're doing in Stol drag, right? But like you don't have flaps, so it's like slip. That's what you got. And
we do have flaps actually too. So yeah, it would be pull the power off, full flaps, full forward slip. But yeah.
Yeah. So like the slip in the J3 is your flaps basically, right?
Oh, sorry, you don't have flaps in the J3 is what you're saying.
Right. But that's a good point.
Okay.
You do have flaps. People are using flaps in Stol drag for sure.
Yeah.
We're in the same general area. My point is, I learned how to slip. It's interesting to me, like slip aggressively, slip it like you mean it, right? Is what my flight instructor used to say, and like that. I think it's a long. I'm ramping up to a question. The basic question is, if I were to say, now I fly a 172 right now. But if I were to be someone who wanted to participate in Stol drag, I don't know if an aggressive way of flying is the right way to describe it, but it's definitely like a lot of things are happening at once. Like, how would you recommend that people either practice, learn, get ready? Like, what's the Nat Esser approved training methodology?
Well, just before I say anything, just know that the Nat Esser stamp of approval is like totally worthless. So just take it with take it for what it's worth. But what I did, I'll just tell you what I did to prepare. So I didn't have a field that was long enough to do the full, because you need essentially like 2,000 feet between the two lines, and then you want to have at least. We were doing it on a grass strip with only 400 feet on the one end, 600 feet on the other. That's tight. Like it was, you really were, it was tight. So before I was doing that, when I was just at my home strip that I only had 2,600 feet or something, I was picking a line and like a touchdown point. And what I would do is I would go out and I would fly around the pattern really low. So if you're allowed to do that where you're at, that's good. And so to simulate that like low, sort of just above the ground sort of deal. And then I would wait as long as I could, and then I would just pull the power, full forward slip, full flap, and then see where my speed and everything was at. And then I would look at how much distance I took. And then I would be a little bit closer before I did that, and then a little bit closer and a little bit closer. And so that really helped, I think. If you're not at the point of being quite comfortable with that whole process yet, the best thing you can do is just go out and practice spot landings first. If you can't hit a spot consistently within, like a couple lengths of your airplane, I would say you're not, you need to be able to do that first. So hit your mark first, then start adding in the sort of slowing down closer and closer to where you want to do that. And then eventually, if you could find a place, I don't know how hard it is to find a place. Luckily, we had a sleepy little grass strip sort of nearby where I live. That was the one that I was telling you about, was very, very short. It was only a 3,000 foot grass strip total. So we had the 2,000 feet between the lines, and then I was using 400 feet into wind and 600 feet with the tailwind end. And so we were practicing. I ended up going around a lot, to be honest, because if I wasn't bang on the mark, I just give up, try it again. So, but it made me better because there was a fence coming up towards me at the end of the runway. But yeah, so I'd say spot landings first, hit your mark, and then start adding the speed management part into it as well. And then the turnaround is a whole other thing too, actually, I guess.
And the turnaround feels like it's funny. I gotta say about this photo here. I thought it was so awesome, and I was showing my business partner while I was getting the thumbnail ready. I'm like, "What do you think of that one?" And she was like, "Don't do it." I was like, "I don't know." She sent it to me. She's like, "Don't do it." And I was like, "I don't know. This looks fun." Anyway.
I don't know. If you see my social media, I don't take myself overly seriously. Like I don't mind a dumb photo every now and then. It's all good.
Sorry, we were talking about Stol drag.
No worries.
So, and then there's like a race school that you have to do also, or something?
The race school is a new thing that they've brought in this year, I believe, 2021. So now, so this year at High Sierra, the Friday, I believe, was the day that they had the race school. So if you want to race, you can show up to any Stol drag event with any airplane, and I think there might be a certain amount of hours that you need to have before they'll allow you to be in the race school, but I don't know. But if you go on the Stol drag website, it has all the information on there. So if you want to learn to Stol drag, you show up to High Sierra, for example. I think they're doing it at Mayday as well. And you'll get essentially the pointers from the people who designed the race. And there's guys out there with 172s, just like normal airplanes out there Stol dragging, and it's a really fun thing to try, and it's really fun to watch people when they're first learning, because I was the same way. Like I was just, you don't realize how much is going on at once until you try and do it, and then you realize like, oh wow, like this is a whole other thing.
Yeah, like workload, right? Like that's the thing that I'm always. Also separately, this photo looks so cool. That should be on like a Canadian postage stamp or something. Looks so epic.
That was go home day as well. You could tell everybody else had already left, and we were a little bit late getting out of bed, I think.
That was so I was just in Somerton with Colin. I was in Somerton, Arizona for Outlaw Stol.
Nice.
National Stol event, and this is gonna sound like weirdly naive. It's like one of the first times definitely the first time in recent memory that I'd been in the desert, like just out in the desert, and like we were broadcasting live, and I had my laptop, and it was just, I almost like could just empty sand out of it, like just like the wind was blowing and all that stuff. I don't know how you guys do it at High Sierra every year, but a couple things to say in the chat real quick while I took a break. Just Plain Silly is here. He says his wife really likes my voice. Thank you, Brian's wife. Colin's got to go, but he said, Dembroski, Nat, you two rock the world. Keep being awesome. And he can't wait to see you at, well, maybe he's inviting me, but see you at Mayday Stol, which is awesome.
Yeah.
And then also Levi Nogues is here, which is awesome. The man, the myth, the mustache. What's up, Levi? Good to see you. And Just Plain Silly says the last picture looks like Mad Max, but in Canada. Even though you weren't in Canada. Anyway, sorry. I guess we have to make Canadian jokes. So, the other thing we haven't really talked about is you're like really good at Stol Drag now. Like that, like you started, you're being humble. You're like, oh yeah, like I had to learn, I had to go through all this workload stuff, but like there's pictures of you, well, one, doing awesome outreach to youth in here, but the other thing that's in here, there's like, eventually we're going to get to some photos with some trophies and stuff. Like you're like doing it.
Yeah, I've got a good airplane for it, and was able to be competitive enough to place. So they had the gold class, silver class, and the bronze class for Stol Drag at Reno and High Sierra, and I think they're going to continue with that format. So I came in third place at the Reno Air Races in the silver class. And I came in second at High Sierra. And Austin has beat me. I saw you had Austin on, I don't know how long ago. That's him in that picture right there. He's on the other side. Yeah, I want to beat Austin. That's the next airplane that's going to, yeah.
Yeah, Austin's a good kid, and he would hate the fact that I called him a kid. But I've really enjoyed getting to know him. We were hanging out down in Arizona too. Yeah, it's interesting, right? What's interesting about that matchup too between the two of you there is it's an interesting aircraft. Like obviously the piloting skill level is very high with the two of you. And he had a little bit of excitement at Reno, I think I heard, but like the matchup from an aircraft perspective is also really interesting because you've got like the experimental versus like the kind of like, I don't know if I want to call it like the old guard, but like a certificated, like the Husky. It's like been around since forever. And I don't know, it's just an interesting, if I were announcing the event, I would be playing up that. I'd be like, wow, here we go. Like old versus new, like young versus younger.
Well, it speaks to his skill level too with that thing, man. Like it's he really can fly that thing. And I've got like a really light, overpowered machine, but he's got that reversible prop. So we were so close, and I really wanted to get him at High Sierra, but because he was originally, when he was throwing it in reverse, he was saying it was like because of all the dust, he couldn't see. And so he wasn't sure he was going to be able to use it. And so I thought I might stand a chance at that point. But then he figured out how to I don't know, how to make it work. And he still ended up beating me. But I think Austin's great. I like racing him. He's a really good competitor. And I would love to show up with a more powerful airplane and see what we can make happen. Or maybe a reversible prop too. That'd be pretty sweet.
You've mentioned a couple times about like another. Oh, there we go. Yeah, there's you and Austin. Who's that? Who's first place there? I don't recognize that face.
That's Eddie Sanchez. Yeah, he's also another really, really great pilot. He flies a Highlander, but he's got the same engine as I do.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So you've been hinting a little bit about like the next plane, or like the like what is there? Is it top secret? Like, is there anything going on that you can share about what you guys have in development?
Well, we're going to build another Kit Fox. It'll for sure be a Kit Fox Model 6, but it's going to be very modified. It's still in pieces in my basement and my garage. So there's not really anything solid that I can share, only because nothing is decided yet. And unfortunately, we've got, well, not unfortunately, it's just we're busy with a lot of other things in life right now. So I'm not certain. We probably won't be able to show up with an airplane to High Sierra this year, but maybe the following year we'll be able to get one built in time. So,
I mean, that's an aggressive schedule for any build. Like, I don't. Like,
yeah, no.
You're like, oh, like maybe in a year we'll have a plane built. It's like that's a lot.
Yeah, especially now, like I'm back working full time again now, so it'll be interesting to see how much time I can spend building. But the thing is I wasn't really all that involved with the first build. But now, since getting the plane ready for Reno, I'm feeling more ambitious about getting more involved with the building. So I think between Josh and myself both working on it, I think I'm hopeful that we'll be able to make it go a little bit quicker.
Does Josh have any aspirations to share get in on the action at Stol Dragon stuff, or?
Not really. He hasn't really said that he wants to. Yeah, he doesn't seem all that interested in doing the Stol Drag stuff. This year it was funny because the plane hadn't flown in a while, and it was for sale, and he didn't even fly it. After we got the engine on it, he flew maybe once, because he's like, I know if I get in and I fly it with this much power on it, I won't want to sell it afterwards. But he really wanted to commit to selling it. So anyway, yeah, he's really, really interested in the build and doing all those sorts of things. But yeah, as far as the competition, I don't think he's all that interested. Yeah.
Because we were introduced by another guest who's been on the show, Blair, and
yeah.
I was wondering if there was some similarities there, because she was talking about how she and her husband like split, like they fly the plane at their F1 racer at Reno, like alternating, I guess is how they've done it sometimes.
Yeah, and I guess they were doing that a few years back, but then she was the only one racing it 2021, as far as I know. So
I think so. Yeah, I think you're right. It started that way, and
Yeah.
then she was like, "No, this is mine now. Like, I'm gonna go tear it up." And she's in the
Yeah.
chat somewhere. Blair, I saw you in the chat. I saw you in there saying some nice things, and I didn't get to bring them up. See if I can find them. I think she was just saying thanks for carrying all her stuff.
Oh yeah.
Can't find it. It's in there somewhere, but such an awesome person as well. So I'm just kind of like clicking through. Was that it? Oh, that's the end. That's the end of the photos. The last thing I thought we could do before we go to she says, oh, there's Blair. She said, Matt's my crew chief.
There you go.
It's been sorted out. I was wondering if we could show. You sent another really cool video of what it's like inside as you race, and I think that might be fun to play before we wrap up, and then like play a game. You want to play a game on the show? Did I tell you about that? We got to play a game.
Sure. Yeah, let's do it.
All right. So we'll watch this video and then we'll play a game. Here we go.
Okay.
1 second. So while we're watching, I'll ask you some questions here. I mean, is this is Reno, I'm guessing, based on the layout?
Yeah. Yeah, this is Reno, and by the sun in my eyes, I have a feeling it was an early morning time to fly. So you saw the line fly past underneath me there. I think I was a little quick on this one, but yeah, you'll notice I'm not actually fully stopped even before the power is all the way in, and that's because of the turbo lag. So you actually start spooling the turbo up before you even come to a complete stop to get the best turnaround out of this thing, which is kind of an interesting technique that I learned. But yeah, and then going back about halfway down, that was the halfway flag there. And then you'll see the line coming up here in a second. And then, yeah, you can kind of tell how downhill it is from this. Yeah. And then it was so bumpy at the end here, too. I think next year they said they're going to have it kind of rolled out or graded or something a little bit better. But, yeah, it was it was a real rough ride on the go-home stretch at Reno. It was an interesting course, for sure.
I mean, a couple of thoughts, having seen it from the inside now as you narrated it, like, that happens fast. And, like, the workload is quite, like, the pilot, like, to stay ahead of the airplane feels like just, like, a lot.
Yeah, like, at first, you know, because I would sit at the end of, like, when I was getting ready to race, and I would just be running through in my head, you know, like, okay, full power, release the brakes, 30 knots, full flap, slowly let the flap back out, go fast, go fast, go fast, power off, full forward slip, full flap, slip, 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 slow down, slow down, slow down, touchdown, flaps down, flaps up, full brakes. Right before you stop, you'd have to time it properly to get full power, full stop, full left rudder and left brake, because I don't have a steerable tail wheel. Not that I know that you would necessarily use it either, so it's only differential braking on our kit box. Full left brake, whip it around, same thing, 30 knots, full flap, slowly let it out, go fast as you can, power off, full flap, full forward slip, touchdown, flaps up, and then brake and stop. And it's just like, I would just run through that and move my hands and try and, you know, remember the order of things. But there'd be times where I would do a run and I would realize after I landed that I didn't bring my flaps up, or, you know, like I just missed a step, because there's so many things happening so quickly that it's like you barely have time to look at, you know, what's going on. So it's it definitely makes you fly way more by the seat of your pants, by feel, you know, than any kind of flying I've ever done. So it's made me better at flying my airplane, that's for sure.
Are you gonna should we do, like, get a petition started to, like, Stol drag the 787? Like, we need a longer runway, we need a longer course.
A little longer runway, yeah.
Or
and
maybe it's like, you know, West Coast to the East Coast, and then, like, you know, pedal turn and off you going back, right? Maybe it's
just whip it around. Yeah. Yeah, we should figure that out. We should talk to Boeing. I'm sure they'd be into the idea.
At least once. Right? You do it once.
Yeah.
Actually, this is so interesting. Why don't we play the outside view? The outside camera is the same. Is it the same run that you sent? Maybe? Let's try that.
Remember.
Let me pull it up, and then I'll unmute us so you can talk us through it. Okay, so we're out on the wing now. Man, that just looks so dope.
Yeah, Annie set up, I think you know what, Pilot Annie, she set up her camera on my wing at Reno. So yeah, this is awesome. So yeah, I could see the flaps came down to get me popped off the ground there. Fast as you can. And then the halfway mark-ish, based on wind, full forward slip. There the flaps came down. We have flapper on, so it's kind of hard to tell when the flaps are down or up and I'm turning. But yeah, and then the line, slam it down. And then I can't remember who this is. I think this is Kurt that I'm next to. It's one of the Cessna guys. But it'll whip around, you'll see them. And then, yeah, the same thing in reverse. And then you're usually going a little bit quicker on the go-home stretch because you've had a little bit of a longer course as well. So the forward slip is sometimes a little more aggressive, and you got a little bit more speed to bleed off as well. So all things to sort of consider. Plus usually a tailwind, plus downhill in this case, which is always messed with me, the downhill part.
And it looks like sand? It looked like you were, like, landing on, like, loose sand?
There's, like, loose sand with these big, like, desert bush things, and so those big bumps. Yeah, it was. They made you work for it at Reno.
I mean, it's Reno.
Yeah.
I mean, it's pretty cool. Before we play, we're gonna play short final in a second. Before we do, a couple people, Jackie's in the chat. Says everyone smash that like button. Thank you, Jackie, for saying that. And I think she said hello to you at some point in there as well.
Hey, Jackie.
Dreadnought, aka Roger, is here. He says hello. He says hey.
Roger, what up, dude?
Let's see. Brap Z. It says that's my picture and me. So that must be someone we just showed a picture of.
Oh yeah, nice.
Let's see. Just scrolling through, a lot of people really excited to see what you were doing. I don't know if there's so many little notes. You guys are all awesome. You guys are all so awesome. Okay. Roger's like, Stol drag for the win. I'm imagining that's what your voice sounds like, Roger. Hopefully I'm pretty
for
close.
sure. That was perfectly accurate.
Yeah, that's exactly what he sounds like. All right, so let's play a game called Short Final. So if you're new here, first of all, if you're new here, do all the YouTube stuff for us, like button, share it. A lot of new people in the chat because you've seen Nat racing and doing all the cool stuff. We do interviews like this basically every week, so come back, hit the subscribe button, all that. I do my best Trent Palmer, like, smash that like button. That was a perfect Trent Palmer impression. Trent, if you're watching, you should come on the show. We could have just a Kit Fox month.
Yeah.
Anyway, so check all that stuff out. And the other thing I got to mention is, before we do this game, this show wouldn't be possible without the help of the SuperAero Squadron, all my Patreon supporters. We do a little Zoom chat after the show. For the Squadron members who are watching right now, I will post the link to that right after we wrap up with Nat tonight, where you guys can just come hang out and talk smart about airplanes until like 1 in the morning and pass out and then not be able to function at work the next day. That's what we do.
Awesome.
So, one last question that came in before we do this. Ken says, any thoughts on the new RV-15? But no one knows what that is, Ken. I don't know. Nat, you have to think about the RV-15? You want to build one of those instead of a Kit Fox?
Here's the thing. I don't actually know anything about airplanes that I don't fly.
It's a trick question. He's trolling us a little bit because all we know is the RV-15 is a bush plane.
Oh.
But we
that's
don't know what it
exciting.
is. It's a high-wing bush plane. It could be anything. It could literally be anything. How could we know, Ken? We don't know.
Sorry,
That's a good
Ken.
question.
I'm sorry.
I'm being a little aggressive towards Ken. Ken, we interviewed Greg Hughes from Vans Aircraft a month or two ago, and I grilled him like kind of hard, and all he said is it's going to be metal high-wing bush plane. That's all we got after a whole hour. That's all we got out of him.
I mean, it's RV. It's got to be metal, right?
Yeah. Riveted. Rivets. All right.
For sure.
Here's the deal with Short Final, in case you've never watched before, folks. Now people are talking about what the RV-15 is going to be in the chat. Okay, so the way Short Final works is we got a minute on the clock. I'm going to ask Nat a bunch of short questions because it's Short Final. Nat, there are no right or wrong answers. This is just what you do. You either have won or lost. It's your choice. It doesn't matter. No points. The points aren't real.
All right.
Like they say on that, whose line is it anyway? Say that 10 times fast.
Sounds good.
All right, here we go. Gonna get some little music going. Gonna try to hit the button. Did it first try. All right, Nat Esser's on Short Final. First of all, I gotta know favorite airport you've ever landed at.
Favorite airport? Soldier Bar, Idaho.
Oh, I've never heard
look
of
it up. It's a crazy uphill strip in the backcountry in Idaho. It's not even straight. It's like an uphill with a turn. It's really cool.
Okay, everyone in the chat wants to know: are you a track up or a north up person on the GPS?
Track up is the only way to go. Track up.
Oh man, see, it's like different every week. It's like alternates back and forth. Okay, favorite passenger you've ever had in your airplane?
I once flew. This is going to be a Canadian reference. I don't know if anyone's going to get it.
That's all right.
Peter Mansbridge. He's like a He's like a news anchor in Canada. I flew him once. That was kind of cool.
Okay. And then do you have a favorite warbird? Or just I guess you have a favorite airplane?
I really like the P-51. I know that's everyone's answer, but yeah.
Surprisingly, not as many as you'd think. We get a lot of other love for other stuff too. You've flown a ton of aircraft. Like maybe maybe one of the most people with the most types on the show, I would guess, based on the photos you sent. Do you have like a favorite besides the Kit Fox? Do you have a favorite aircraft that you've flown in your career?
The Learjet for sure. Yeah, that thing was like, it was like a fighter jet design or disguised as a business jet. It was awesome.
That's super cool.
Yeah, we would like pin the VSI at like 6,000 feet per minute up, so we don't even know how fast we were going, but it was nuts.
He's like, hang out back there.
Yeah, it was sweet.
That's awesome. Cool. Nat, thank you so much. I know it's getting late, early, whatever it is there, and you've got to...
I don't know. I got to go to sleep, but...
Yeah, you got to get some rest before you fly back. But I can't thank you enough for taking the time while you're in Hawaii and taking time to jump on the show tonight. It's so cool to watch you compete and to get to know you tonight. So just thanks again for taking the time.
Oh, thanks so much for inviting me, Ryan. This is awesome.
Well, hopefully we'll run into each other sometime, and if we don't run into each other at a Stol drag, maybe you should come tear it up at a national Stol event too. It's different. It's a different kind of thing, but that would be a cool thing.
Yeah, no, if once we got an airplane to bring down and run against some other people, I think it'd be fun to come try that out. Yeah.
There is that. You do need to get that thing built.
Need an airplane.
Anyway, all right. So many people in the chat. Jackie Unwin, Allie Unwin, Zach Sherman, everyone's saying great show, that they loved it. Blair is blown away by the Peter Mansbridge thing, so maybe a Canadian thing.
Sweet. Okay, I impressed one person.
Yeah, so that's good. So, dudes, everyone in the chat, thank you so much. I say it every week, but this is like my favorite part of the week is hanging out with all of you, my Sky fam, my squadron, all you guys. It's so cool to have you. So thank you very much. Nat, thank you very much. And we'll see you guys next week. And you know what you could do in the chat? Help me come up with a way to end these shows. It's like 84 what is it? 84? We still have like a way to be like, and we'll see you next time on Blingity Blue Blue Blue. I don't have one of those yet. So put it in the chat. Help me out with that. All right. Nat, thanks. Everyone else, have a great night. We'll see you.
Okay, see you, Ryan.